Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football in the studio, and we're talking Chelsea. No way has Mauricio Pochettino said this about Chelsea. He used the word reality a lot. He used the word transfers. But is it acceptable what he's saying about Chelsea when they are 12th in the league with 19 points and miles away, not from the title, but even from European spots, even from the Conference League? It looks so unlikely. What is the next step at Chelsea? If you listen to Pochettino, it's more signings. And if you listen to Pochettino, the reality is Chelsea are where they deserve to be. They're a lower mid-table team. What does that mean? What did he mean in what he was saying after the chat? As I said, after the match yesterday, he's talking about realities. And I think, to be honest with you, I don't expect to see the comment section full of, he's lost the plot, he needs to be sacked. In some ways, maybe the reality is correct. Chelsea are where they deserve to be in a very competitive Premier League. The question is, should they be there? Well, you look at Fulham, you'd expect them to be where they are. You look at Brentford. But Chelsea, at the start of the season, with no European football, the wage bill, the expenditure, the manager, the quality of players, the fan base, the status of that football club, the reality does not match where the expectation should be. Now, that's not necessarily a reason to sack the manager, but I don't think Pochettino can just say, well, this is the reality and we've got to do better. It's unacceptable. I think that really the reality is that Pochettino is in danger and has to be in danger. And sometimes I feel that you can't have that apathy of his job is safe. Let's see what happens. I think he almost needs that pressure of you might lose your job, because if you don't, you accept the reality. And the reality is Chelsea should not be where they are. I know they've got problems up front. I know they've had injury issues, but so have Newcastle, so have Brighton, so have Manchester United, and they're all far, far away from Chelsea. And all of those clubs are playing Thursday or Wednesday, Tuesday night European football. So the bottom line is Chelsea should be doing better. But it's a dangerous balancing game for Pochettino, because whatever you say, the results are unacceptable. He's lost 2 games in a row. They've lost a lot of games this season, and the pressure has to be there. But where I do agree with him is that sometimes facing up to the reality is fine if it stresses you out, if it pisses you off, if it's unacceptable. Where it doesn't work is if you go, well, that's just where it is. That's just what we are. And I think that's the danger that maybe Chelsea have. He is correct, though. I've seen a lot of people saying, asking for transfers are not the answer. And I think, well, actually, I disagree. I think transfers are the answer for Chelsea. I've said it very consistently on this channel for many, many, many months. How you spend £1 billion and don't buy a world-class striker is incredible. And I watched Chelsea play against Man City a few weeks ago in that entertaining 4-4 draw, which I actually expected to be a bit of a spark for Chelsea's season, and it hasn't been. Since then, they've come out of the tough run of fixtures and they're still losing games. Manchester United, I mean, we're not playing great. We smashed you. Everton, playing well, but Chelsea should be going there and getting a result. So I look at it and I go, well, look, that wasn't a spark against Man City. But when I watched that game, I did feel the simple equation was Erling Haaland up front for Chelsea, and they win that game. I really do look at that Chelsea side, and I know it's only one area, but if you've ever played the game or you've ever watched the game, I think when you play in a team where you've got a goal scorer, the confidence in that team goes up, because you know, even if it's a tight game, you've got a guy or another guy up front who can score a goal and get you out of jail and win you a game. And when you look at Chelsea at the moment, I don't think they're terrible defensively. I don't think their midfield's terrible, but they must go into every game knowing if we concede a goal, we're in trouble. And I think that's the problem with Chelsea at the moment. And I think a lot of their problems will improve or disappear with a striker. They're not a title-winning side. They need more than a striker. But I think if you put, and look, people say it can't happen. They bought Enzo Fernandez for over £100 million last January. They bought Caicedo for £100 million in the summer. Victor Osimhen's a bloody striker. If you're willing to spend £100 million on midfielders, holding midfielders, then surely you've got to be willing to spend £125 million on a striker. And I think if you put, it's not going to be a Harry Kane or an Erling Haaland, but if you put like a Victor Osimhen up front for Chelsea, or somebody who's going to regularly score you goals, then suddenly and mentality is what it's all about. I watched Man United against Bournemouth at the weekend. The first 10 minutes, Man United's heads aren't even in the game. Bournemouth are, they're 1-0 up. And I think at Chelsea, mentality in football is so misunderstood. The mentality to go into every game and start with the right attitude is so important. Now, if you put into a Chelsea side a striker that, Thiago Silva or Conor Gallagher or Enzo Fernandez knows that striker, if you give him a chance, they're going to score, then the whole outlook of the game changes, the confidence changes. And I look again, Man United, Chelsea last week, and Nicholas Jackson had 2 chances he should have scored. 2 chances that Harry Kane would score, 2 chances and Erling Haaland would score. Chelsea don't have that. And I think it's infecting the whole mentality of the team. So Pochettino is right when he says they need to go in the transfer market. And people will say, well, how do you do that when you've spent £1 billion? Oh, the money's not the answer. But when you've spent £1 billion and you haven't spent any of that money on a top striker, then Pochettino is correct. I don't think anybody of any football club or any football knowledge could watch Chelsea and say they don't need a top-class striker. They absolutely do. They do. And I suppose when you accept that, Chelsea do have to be active in the January transfer window. And also when you accept that, then you also accept that that's going to massively improve them. And then Chelsea will not be 12th in the league. They will start climbing the table. I said at the start of the season that Chelsea were going to be the flop of the season. And I don't sit here smug as much as I could do because I could see it coming a mile off. A team is never about the roster and how good the roster is. A team is always about how they fit together as a team. And we see that at Villa. We've seen it at Spurs, Newcastle. We've seen it with Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Brighton even. When they get their best team out, they play as a team. The Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds, they might pay good wages, they might have good players, but they don't fit together as a team. And that's why I predicted Pochettino would struggle, because there's just an accumulation of expensive players, almost too many in similar positions. There's not a good balance there. There's not a good chemistry there. And therefore, I think you've got to break that down, deal with that, remove players, bring extra players in. There's still Nkunku to come back. So I think it would be wrong to be considering sacking Pochettino, but that doesn't mean he won't get sacked. And that doesn't mean that Chelsea results will improve. I think he's right to say they need to bring players in January, but I think he's wrong to accept the reality of the situation. You can never, as Chelsea or Arsenal or Manchester United, accept the reality of being 12th in the league. It is the reality because that's the position you're in, but why are you there? And is that an acceptable reality? And it's not. It absolutely is not. It's becoming acceptable for Chelsea to lose games that they shouldn't be losing. And that needs to turn around very, very quickly. And I think the next 2 months, when you look at their fixtures and you look at the January transfer window, will be crucial for them. Get your comments in below. What do you think about what Pochettino said? And what do you think about his future at Chelsea? Do you see him here in 2 years' time? I actually don't. I think Pochettino is the guy before the guy. I think he's the guy that must be allowed to clear out and build a foundation, and then he'll take Chelsea to the next stage. But it won't be him. I think he'll get Chelsea around 4th, and then if they want to win things, they'll probably have to bring someone else in. Smash a like and subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.